Welcome to Spy School, the complete course in all things undercover and underhand.
We'll be exposing the secret workings of intelligence agencies around the world and get trained with the very exercises they put their new recruits through.
And I'm here to make sure we don't break the Official Secrets Act. My name's David Shaler. I used to work for British Intelligence. Coming up, Lorna and Julian travel out of their minds for a lesson in remote viewing with psychic spy Uri Geller. We investigate the attempted assassination of Pope John Paul II by the Bulgarian Secret Service, and we learn the secrets of World War II spying in the Special Operations Executive.
But first, psychic spying. You may be sceptical, but it's thought that this technique has been used recently in the hunt for Osama bin Laden and his Al-Qaeda terrorist camps.
In the 1950s, the Russians began experimenting with psychic spying or remote viewing. Although the technique is not generally taken seriously, the CIA saw it as a way of carrying out deniable operations. It threw money at projects like Operation Scanate and Operation Grill Flame in the 1970s and 80s.
Our lesson was with the best in the field, Uri Geller, who, when not bending spoons, was actually recruited by the CIA in the 80s to join their experiments in this bizarre technique. We had to hook up with a psychic master in a pub near his home in Oxfordshire.
Hi.
Uri. I'm Lorna.
Hi. Nice
Julian.
meeting you. Hi,
Nice to
Julian.
meet you.
Hi. I'm Uri Geller, and today what I'll try to do is train you to do remote viewing, psychic spying.
Before we start,
Yeah.
I've done a little drawing of an object just back there, and I
Yeah.
wondered if I could put you to the test and see if you can read my mind and see what it is I've
Okay, you have it on you.
Yeah, I've got it on me.
All right.
You-
And you haven't told anyone what you drew?
No one knows what
So
it
you're
is.
the
It's
only
just
one who
something I wanted
knows.
to test you.
Okay. Now, Julian,
Yeah.
stare into my face, and this is what I do. Let me just grab a napkin. I want you to look into my face and visualize the drawing. Just give me time. You know, this is real, and I am getting something. Just stare at me. Don't take your eyes off me. And I'll try to also tilt it towards the camera. Yeah. Yeah. All right, look, I'm more or less getting something like this. Well, here it is. I honestly do not know what it is. Pull your drawing out now. You have not seen what I drew? Now I'm all excited. Bingo!
Whoa.
Look.
No way.
Exactly.
It's a very bad tennis racket.
I'm excited myself because that is very unusual. And I did not know what it was. I thought it was a wine bottle.
Right.
You know, those Italian bottles that have a net around them. But that's telepathy. And what this is all about, I'm glad you did this, because it's called extrasensor perception, telepathy. And people who are sensitives and can transmit a thought, they are the right people to train for remote viewing. And that's what we're going to do today.
What's been your background with remote viewing then? Where have you used it?
I was approached by the American Defense Department through certain scientists, and they wanted to see if my powers could actually translate into being able to send my mind thousands of miles away, bring back information. So some of the tasks that was given were quite interesting. They stationed me in Mexico, and my task was to look at the Russian embassy in Mexico City. I was told on which floors the computers were, and I would scan the computers outside the embassy, write down things that I was getting. Then the most bizarre task was 2 Russian KGB agents would fly with secret information on floppy disks inside diplomatic pouches attached to the wrists. And my task was to sit next to them. And throughout the flights, I would bombard the floppy disks and erase them. So when they landed in Russia, the floppy disks were empty.
Every secret agent needs a thorough knowledge of martial arts. In this Spy Hard, Goju Ryu expert Gavin Mulholland demonstrates the best way to defend yourself against a long weapon attack.
My name is Gavin Mulholland. I've been involved in the martial arts for 34 years. I hold black belts in 4 different combat systems. As an agent, we have been compromised and captured and are being held at bayonet point. Our chance of escape get less and less and less as you get moved down the line. We need to take out the first guy, we need to take him out fast. First step is to clear the weapon out of the way. Next, I grab the weapon behind his leading arm, drive in for the arm break. Then drive the butt of the weapon between his legs, spin round for a takedown. As he goes down, reverse the weapon, bayonet to the throat. All these techniques are extremely dangerous. Don't try any of this at home.
Coming up later in the show, Shayla demonstrates flaps and seals work courtesy of the CIA, and I talk to journalist Mark Urban to ask whether he thinks the British Secret Service is a credit to the nation. Now on Spy School, Richard Tomlinson, the ex-MI6 agent who smuggled nuclear secrets out of Moscow and ran undercover operations in Sarajevo, only to be sacked by British intelligence.
In my particular case, MI6 dismissed me without any reason, without any warning. In employment law, you're obliged to give people a warning before you dismiss them, both written and verbal. I received none of that, absolutely none at all. And they admitted that quite openly to me. But what was worse than that was they then denied me access to an employment tribunal under this absurd excuse, oh, we're far too secret to go to an employment tribunal, you can't take us to an employment tribunal. And they basically abused the privilege that they have of the Official Secrets Act to stop me doing that. In fact, there was nothing that would have come out in an employment tribunal that would have breached any secrecy rules because it was simply a personnel dispute. It wasn't anything more complicated than that. If they get away with using secrecy to cover up cock-ups, cover up their dishonesty, cover up their misdeeds, then the whole essence of government fails. And so the lesson I think that everyone needs to learn from this, and particularly government ministers, is that they must scrutinise very, very carefully whatever MI6 say to them, because it needn't necessarily be the truth.
Brain hacking. Brain hacking is the act of obtaining information from a person by force or coercion. It includes various methods of interrogation, from brainwashing to mind-altering drugs.
Uri Geller claims that the CIA asked him to try and stop the heart of a pig, because if he could do that, he could use the same remote technique to stop the heart of Soviet President Yuri Andropov. Geller is training Julian and Lorna in psychic spying.
What we will do, we will go through an exercise that will awaken those dormant powers that we all have. So I want you to close your eyes, both of you. I want you to visualize a TV screen in your mind, an imaginary TV screen. See it in front of you. I want you now to visualize a light, a white light in the middle of this imaginary screen. I want you to grab that white light and shoot it out into time and space. Do it right now. Travel with that white light and let it go, let it go. And now, suck it back into your minds, quickly. Bring it back into that imaginary TV screen. Relax, and now open your eyes, both of you. Okay, I prepared you now for the journey, the remote viewing journey. Are you ready for this? Okay. Now, I've prepared some pictures inside the laptop, and I will open it, you will see it. He will not see it, he cannot see it, he doesn't know what it is. What I want you to do is look at the image of this picture and now look into his eyes, or just look at him, transmit the picture, and you, Julian, the picture that she's transmitting to you is appearing in that inner imaginary television screen. What do you see? What is coming up in your mind?
Some kind of diamond shape.
Okay, continue describing.
No. Columns. A big column, rounded, not square. Possibly light browny, grey brick.
Fantastic. Okay, I will turn it to you and look, this is what it was. Brick, light brown, and the columns. Well done, let's go next. Okay. All right, Lorna, go ahead. Project that image into his mind. What's the thing that you're looking at? What is it that you see?
I've got trees overhanging by a river.
Okay.
Possibly a bridge going on.
Look at me. You got it.
No.
You got the river. There's a river. There is a river
And a bridge.
and the bridge.
Coming up in part 2, how to covertly open letters. And we investigate the attempt on Pope John Paul II's life in The Assassination Files.
Welcome back to Spy School, the show with more secrets than an MI5 laptop. Still to come, an interview with journalist Mark Urban on the failings of British intelligence. And more psychic spying with Uri Geller.
Now, secret meetings are on the syllabus for SOE. The Special Operations Executive was a group of British spies who fought the Nazis alongside the French resistance. Taught at spy schools during the war, the lecture notes have only recently been declassified. When agents needed to pass on information securely and without meeting, they would organise a letter drop. A cutout would be used as an intermediary, and to protect the operation, they would not know which organisation they were working for. The message must be passed surreptitiously so as not to arouse the suspicion of anyone watching. The agent retrieving the message would arrive later. Agents knew that the Gestapo were trained to be constantly on the lookout for anything suspicious, and that they would confront a suspect on the spot. Therefore, the message would be retrieved in a different manner to the drop-off, and the agent would be aware of anyone watching them. SOE agents were trained to remain calm in potentially dangerous circumstances. Thank you. Good day.
Letter intercept is one of the oldest intelligence techniques. Using the public mail is actually one of the least secure ways of communicating. So if you are going to use this route, you have to make sure you know how your mail can be interfered with. This is called flaps and seals work. Okay, this is a typical example of a letter that has obviously been tampered with. You can see that the seal has been torn in two places, it's been badly glued back down again, and there are traces of grease from people's fingers on it. Don't be fooled. Don't think that loads and loads of sellotape around the top is going to save your letter from being opened. Any expert is going to open it at that end. If your letter's sealed with a water-based adhesive, you have a simple electric kettle, and the steam from that can open it along with a spatula. It's best to use something not exactly sharp, but flat and pointed. And if you don't want to use metal, you could always use a wooden spatula. If the flap of a letter is sealed with sticky tape, it can be removed using carbon tetrachloride, and then adhesive can be reapplied to the tape, and the tape can be put back over the envelope flap. Now we move on to some traps. One of the most effective traps is using these little bit of paper which are created when you punch holes in A4. What you do is you put a set number in an envelope so that when somebody opens it, they all fall out. And they may try to gather them all back up again, but you can guarantee that at least one or two of them will have disappeared. Powder paint is also an effective technique. If you put it under the flap of the envelope, any heat treatment or chemicals will make it spread, so it'll be obvious that someone's been there. This in itself is not a particularly effective technique. Any expert could seal that as normal. But if you did that using invisible ink, they wouldn't notice it, and when they resealed it, the lines wouldn't match up. So that would be another effective technique.
Black bag job. A black bag job is a break-in operation to gain access to secret papers which are then covertly photographed. These highly trained teams must conceal any signs that the papers have been compromised. The Watergate burglary is one of the most famous black bag jobs. Pope John Paul II's role in the fall of the Soviet Empire is undeniable. His support for the Solidarity movement in his native Poland triggered a sequence of events that led to the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. But if the Bulgarian attempt on his life had succeeded, it might have turned out very differently.
Rome, May 13th, 1981. Pope John Paul II was being driven through the Great Piazza in front of St. Peter's Basilica.
But running through the crowd was 23-year-old Mehmet Ali Agha, an escaped murderer from Turkey. He raised a pistol above his head and fired 2 bullets which hit the Pope in the abdomen, the right arm and left hand, badly wounding him. In hospital, the Pope underwent surgery to remove the bullets from his body, but he never made a complete recovery. Captured at the scene by Italian police, Acca freely admitted firing the shots in an attempt to assassinate the Pope, but his motives were always to remain unclear. In July 1981, Acca was found guilty of attempted murder and sentenced to life in prison. At his trial, Acca claimed that KGB had enlisted the Bulgarian Secret Service to kill the Pope because of his support for the Solidarity movement in Poland. The KGB were keen to eliminate any threat to communist rule in Eastern Europe. Indeed, 3 Turkish men and 3 Bulgarians were charged with conspiring with Acca, but acquitted due to lack of evidence. It is likely, however, he was telling the truth. Before the assassination attempt, Acca spent 2 months living in Sofia, Bulgaria, in a luxury hotel where foreigners were closely watched by Bulgarian agents. Bulgarian intelligence at the time must at least have known what Acca was planning to do, and either did not hinder him or actively helped him. But shortly after the fall of the Soviet Union, the Bulgarian secret police destroyed its records, and the truth will never be known.
Mark Urban is a diplomatic editor for the BBC. As a journalist, he's covered numerous crises, including the war in Afghanistan, and he's written a number of books, such as UK Eyes Alpha, an inside guide to British intelligence. I met up with him to discuss the failings and the successes of MI5 and MI6.
Mark, the British tend to refer to their secret services in revered terms as if they're the finest in the world. Exactly how good are they, though?
Very hard. I mean, obviously the whole business about intelligence is that the product tends to remain secret. I think it's up there, it's one of the better services, and of course it has a very proud and long historical record, but it may not have the same dash or the same access to agents as perhaps the Israelis or some of the other human intelligence services.
And in your opinion, what are the greatest successes in the recent years of the British Secret Services?
Well, I think you can say it's a big success, and I'm not being sort of deliberately cynical, to be on such good terms with the Americans, because it is the Americans that actually, through GCHQ, through the interception of signals and messages, provide the vast majority of British intelligence.
Do you think also there have been many failures over the years that have been possibly swept under the carpet and we don't know too much about?
To argue that an intelligence service should penetrate all known enemies and that nothing should ever come as a surprise, we know they can't do that. So it's not always intelligence failure when a bomb goes off and they didn't know anything about it. It's more of a failure if they knew something about it or quite a bit about it and they didn't act or they didn't process the information correctly. I think there are some questions that you can ask after September the 11th. It's pretty obvious, in hindsight, that the Brits, for example, the Americans, gave far too low a priority to this. Now, okay, yes, this is hindsight, but it is pretty obvious that the sections within MI5, for example, that were dealing with Islamist extremism, they were under severe budgetary threat in the mid-90s. One of them was even closed down for a while.
So to sum up, how do you see the future of our secret services? How do you see them evolving over the next 10, 20 years?
I think post-September the 11th, the intelligence services will feel quite a bit more confident about their future.
Right.
Because at times like that, when a society is deeply worried about something, an intelligence service is a kind of comfort blanket.
Back to psychic spying. Julian has already demonstrated that he can see things with his mind. So it's now Lorna's turn to try an exercise in remote viewing with former CIA agent Uri Geller.
I'm going to now take off. I'll drive somewhere out there. I will find a location. I will stand on the location. I will stare at the location. And I will try to transmit what I see there to your mind here. Have your phone ready and good luck.
Right, thanks.
I think this would be a good place. Just slow down here, turn into this parking lot right here. I think I can see a bridge down there. There's a boat crossing the Thames right there. I hope they get out of the place because that could really mix me up. Right now, I'm stepping and walking on the bridge. I'm focusing my mind on this bridge. I'm etching it onto my mind. I see the black railing. I feel the concrete. I'm looking at the water. I'm looking at the supporters, the bridge. Let's call her now.
Hello?
Lorna, is that you?
It is, yeah. Hi,
Hi.
Uri.
Okay, I am on the target. I'm actually looking at it right now, and I would like you to write down at this moment what you see in that imaginary TV screen right now. Okay, I'm shutting the phone, and
Okay.
I'll be driving back to see you. Okay?
Okay,
One
all
more
right
time, one more time.
Yeah.
Here goes. Draw what you feel. Let your hand flow. Draw what you feel. Bye.
Bye. I really hope that this is remotely connected to what he's just sent me.
Okay, guys, I'm back.
Oh no.
Lorna.
Can I just say that I didn't realise that it was going to be that quick. And there was one image that stuck in my mind more than
Really?
the others.
Okay, I was on the location. I really did my best. What did you feel?
I'll show you, shall I?
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
not it, is it?
Well, let me tell you something. It's not it, but it is it. It is it because. Shall I tell you what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. I was on a bridge, and suddenly into my vision came a boat with rowers, and they kept coming into the picture. It was very difficult for me to get out of my mind.
So you weren't trying to send her the boat, you were trying to send her...
I was trying to send the bridge,
Right.
but I was on water because I was on the bridge. Yes, you got the water, you got the river, and you got the boat.
Fantastic.
I mean, it is rather amazing, you know, taking in view that we did it so quickly. Now, can you imagine if you would be trained for many months? You would become incredible remote viewers. Would you like to work for the CIA? That's the question.